Weekly market outlook for next week, starting on the 10th of March, obviously here. And guys, welcome back to our FXstrategies.Asia call here. Last week, we talked about markets, equities might remain shaky in the US. Boom, done and dusted. We said the crypto market might face further setbacks. Look at crypto. They have not been able, against the general audience opinion, been rising. Instead, they were moving lower, and we shall examine how the market motivation in the next couple of trading days this upcoming week is going to be moving, looking forward. We got the news events for the FX guys among you, and those news events here next week might offer quite a bit of motivation. Starting on Tuesday, CPI data, the price index, consumer prices have been kind of stabilized fairly recently. They actually are expected to weaken somehow further, though figures from February, basically January, December data rising. Also, that's the December data, obviously produced in January. The February data, which came from January, also rising. So we see a gradual push towards higher prices. Guys, inflationary is also going to be the tariffs from the US. Despite potentially kind of excluding here and there automotive industries, whatnot, the general story, the general announcement of tariffs already causes potential setbacks. Why? We see factory orders, certain orders have been increasing in order to potentially evade rising prices in the near future, but generally that story is being paid by the consumer in the end, and tariffs from the US administration over Canada, over Mexico, China, another increase of 10%, Europe kind of staying put at the moment, or he is staying put over Europe. So let's observe how this goes, but potentially this could cause further push to the upside. We see that in the euro-US dollar currency pair, which had been rising drastically. I didn't see that one coming. I had to and have to explain that here. The technical breakout was happening. Obviously, afterwards is always easy to say. Beforehand, analyze markets, stay tuned, do the action, and then sitting out your trade as we do. We are still long Alibaba, we are still long Hang Seng, we are still long Tencent and whatnot, what goes in Asia, and still obviously long some US companies. However, US tech, I might say rather down the drain, not extremely and exactly, but looking to weaken further, because the outlook for the future looks brighter in China compared to the US. Protective measures from China and have not been really happening recently, rather opening measures from US, though protecting measures from Donald Trump could tell us that where the story is going to potentially move to. Daily charts suggest here that there might be some potential setbacks at some point. We have some resistance area. That's kind of something we observe here on the charts. We see lower price ranges here might actually as well act accordingly. So we had that bit of a delta here, 1,950 and 1,750, 200 pip range basically is what we might expect this upcoming week. Let's see how this goes. Any breakout should be taken into consideration. Weaker prices, I might say, should be used, can be used, that's my opinion here, can be used to enter the markets basically again, can be used to kind of find entry opportunities at cheaper prices, which then obviously kind of could continue to push the euro US dollar currency pair to the upside. We got news to kind of later in the week as well from the UK. Those ones are going to be the what's that actually, GDP data. Yes, backward looking indication. So that's not really something as of last minute, and which doesn't tell us anything much in terms of news. But that data, we are above the 50 moving average. That's generally upside, right? Question mark. Is it going to be continuously moving higher? Well, we have fallen to below that area, and that might still be the case if, that's my alarm sign, alarm bells, if the market closes the month below the 50 moving average, pound US could gain, could loosen somehow. If the market continues to trade higher above the high, it's potentially looking set to strengthen further. Another break of this high point here, previously low. That's the zone we exactly trade. And guys, that's not an unusual situation that the market just before the weekend kind of ends at such a zone, because there's too much price pressure, too much fighting around that area. And hence, obviously, kind of we might see how the market continues looking forward. A break of the high, by the way, could ignite upside momentum. A break of the 50 moving average could ignite downside motivation, as we examined. What's the silver market doing? Now, if we see that the economic story in the US is going to weaken potentially somehow further. Now, the US stated, hey, we like to get into the contact and getting more rare earth. And the story is kind of pretty clear to me. And Trump's game is 200% clear to me. He wants to get closer to Putin. Putin stating, hey guys, we are willing to talk. And he wants to get closer to Russia in order to kind of secure some business relationship, pushing Russia further away from China. Whoever doesn't see that, up to you guys. I just think that this is one of the big reasons. Plus, if there's further military support, now he aims high. Obviously, no satellite pictures are being allowed to be used. The Starlink network from Elon Musk, initiated by Musk, stating not true, but not being used potentially somehow further. Political pressures are obviously the blame game now Donald Trump is going to play. That's pretty much something we might say makes total sense. But however, the suffering, if it's going to end, initiated by whoever it is on the table, if it's the Germans, the Chinese, the Syrians or whatever, if the dying ends, this is just something positive. Don't we all want that? I might say we should, but it depends on. Currently, I see the situation, and I understand the friction as well between Trump and Zelensky, that Zelensky is going to fight out everything it takes, which is a pretty damn clear thing. However, to find a peace, to find results, will only work with negotiations, and it's up to each of the political parties to kind of find out how and what they want to do. Silver markets higher. That's how it looks like at the moment after corrective patterns in the couple of recent trading days. Let's eye the chart here right now. A breakout to the upside seems to be a good story next week. I like how the week, and again, same story. I like how this week ended below the low, below the 32 and 75 area. Any break of the highs might ignite fresh momentum to higher levels. Despite this market here, I said left shoulder, head, and right shoulder. We are still in the edge of potentially falling back. If the market just not close or find a close on Monday or Tuesday above the 33 psychological round number, we might be poised to see further weakness, and in this case here we might just see that the market is going to weaken further, if so, unless the upside can be broken, which is also where still the pin bar candlestick pattern, we can increase this level here right now. And again, monthly charts, longer term, potential upside only above the high. Weekly chart, potential entry even at lower levels, right? So above this one, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, the market might still weaken. And now we are trading on the second week then of March. So first week of March higher, second, third week of March lower. If the dollar kind of gear up some momentum, I don't see it coming, but if we could briefly and quickly see that situation currently resumes the downside momentum and the market potentially being ready to celebrate further negative sentiment. Now, crypto, what is going on with Bitcoin, with the other markets? We shall examine. Bitcoin kind of in tricky territory. If we are looking at the chart of Bitcoin, we observe that the market might be ready to basically kind of start and strengthen somehow further. That's at least that's the weekly chart. We have been falling and the market recovered. We've been falling and now again, it's kind of weakening already. It's quite a fair bit. And I still remain with the same story. Anything below that 70 whatever area, 60 whatever area, I won't enter Bitcoin, period. That's at least how I see it. Why? Because we see exactly that story here. And guys, if you're trading these markets, it's very much easy to spot certain patterns here. We can see that, guys. You don't see this area, you don't see the upside here. Is it going to move higher or is it going to move lower? Technical patterns. The pin bar candlestick here is pointing to weakness. Then last week, the market weakened. This week, the market retraced towards which area? Towards another low, right? So we have a support area and the market kind of starts to strengthen again. Where it was support is now turning into resistance, rock solid, and the market weakens. Another support, and now if we can break that area, downside can be entered. Pretty much a rock damn solid thing. I can kind of grab the books about basic charting patterns from my shelf here. Is something different this time around? No, it's not, because the markets do the same over and over again. Technical analysis makes total sense, not always, but often. Fundamental analysis makes total sense as well, not always, but often as well. And that's exactly how we apply this one here. Technically, we see some weakness. Fundamentally, we see potential weakness in US tech stocks. And that's exactly what the crypto market had been all along been doing, following US tech. So please just do your own observation and just focus on what you want to think about it and what you want to do. I see we get entry prices to Bitcoin to the upside at way lower levels, and I'm waiting for this to unfold. Ethereum is one of those. I entered a bit of a positions already earlier on. I talked about this one, and I said as well, I see still lower prices to come. Now, back below 50 moving average. Currently, it's been a fight all week. It's been a fight with a 50 moving average. You can see that. The market was dragging around here, around that area. Nothing has been done. And now I see the market is preparing itself for weaker prices. Downside again being expected. My good friend, the XRP Ripple chart is seemingly doing the same story. I'm not right, because still it's kind of unfolding, but I see as well the same story. Early days in the month, Ripple was doing an upside, and that was day 1, day 2 in March, and now we are ready to fall potentially lower. Same story as always again, and I can take out my videos again in the next couple of trading days, weeks, or month, compare what I said. I know that I'm right, because the chart is telling me that. If the market moves to the upside, closing at higher levels, yeah, I would be happily ready to enter the market. But given this parabolic uptrend, we are rather ready, according to this charting pattern, that the market might weaken further. I don't know that if I'm completely right with this assumption, but I know based on these patterns, it's exactly what it tells me. I follow it, given my risk appetite, given my risk strategy. And if it's a losing trade, it's a losing trade. I'll wait again, and I'll start a new trade here in the next couple of trading days or weeks. Anyways, that's for Ripple looking weaker. The Solana market, I'm again also in some sort of slight long position. This looks also to weaken further. We are slightly at above the 50 moving average. There's still quite a bit of reason here to believe as well that alongside tech stocks that Solana is going to weaken further. So I would be keen on getting entry opportunities here at lower price levels. Again, my positions are staked, so I wait for them for whatever. I'm a hodler now as well. Nowadays here, these markets look set to weaken, and it doesn't affect me if we get entry opportunities at even lower price levels. Now we talked about the oil market, which was a couple of trading days ago, basically last week. For all of my subscribers, by the way, leave your comments under the video. Don't forget to subscribe as well to don't miss any updates here. Oil markets have nicely shown us a strong trend. I exited this trade a bit too early. I'm pretty much aware of this. I exited here way above here these high points, and the same story like on the other charts as well. This support area, this is now the newly found resistance. How do I make it up? I'll just can also go to the line chart. We see touches, close, we see movement, where the chart gets a bend or changes direction. Support. That's exactly how the market and where the market stops. I see retracement higher at higher levels. I would add towards this position again. A break of the lower prices here, maybe on Tuesday onwards, would be something I would like to see to enter into short positioning. Again, the long-term story, the long-term outlook hasn't changed here. Resistance area, market falling. The story in Syria, if I'm not wrong, has been escalated actually against, as I understand it from certain news channel. Interesting, kind of those rebels who have fought against the Syrian regime, as it's being called, or the Syrian leader Assad in the past, and other ones causing unrest and trouble. As I read the news, I'm not too sure. I have not been there, but that's exactly how quite often it went in the past. Looking at Afghanistan, Pakistan, Russia, Afghanistan, same story. Those fighters have been supported ages ago by the US, and then the US went back to fight them. So that's how the story changes in history. Anyways, the oil market looking set to weaken. It aligns with my potential thoughts about a weaker economy. If that's going to be the case, oil markets will face less demand. Silver will face less demand. And last but not least, before we end the call here, gold somehow a bit shaky at these higher levels, somehow as well above the high point I might enter again, and that's getting close towards the 3K level. There's not much of a reason why gold should not rise, I would say. Currently, it's just trading weaker here. This pin bar candlestick didn't hold. It was broken so far, but last week a break to the lower side. This week a break higher, and I might say this market will continue to do what it did before, some weaker price momentum. And do we have anything in the past which shows us? No, because it all was not a potential feasible trade here. Weakness and higher points, weakness and a higher point here. If this zone breaks, and that's a clear entry, I might say we could be in for further price momentum to the downside towards this area, right? So if 2845, 2850 US dollar, $2,850 breaks, the market might go $100 lower towards $2,750. Prepare that and check it out in your market, in your calendar for next week. Guys, news-wise next week, what else do we have? I think we talked about the major news. CPI from the US, the interest rate decision from Canada is due next week, and GDP from the UK. The Canadian dollar has been shaky. Canadian dollar above the high point, worth a buy. Check out the chart yourself and leave your comments under the video. Looking forward to see you here next time. FX Strategies.Asia's weekly market outlook. Go!